Hey everyone, and welcome to Sasquatch Theory. Tonight's guest is Brad, a former Marine who grew up in Fouke, Arkansas, and later had one of the most intense roadside encounters I've ever heard about while traveling through the Croatan National Forest in North Carolina. What Brad and his friends saw that night wasn't a shadow and it wasn't a trick of the headlights. This was something massive, something moving fast, and something that changed how he looks at the woods forever. Brad also recalls hearing strange screams coming from the forest in Arkansas. Brad also shared his encounter with his stepfather, and his stepfather opened up about being paralleled out of the woods when they were running dogs in North Carolina. If you have a Bigfoot or cryptid encounter that you would like to share with me here on Sasquatch Theory, feel free to reach out sometime at sasquatchtheory@outlook.com. And if you want to help support the channel, you can like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below, and use the thanks button or PayPal donate to help support future research videos. With all that being said, let's dive into Brad's terrifying encounter from North Carolina. All right, Brad, welcome to Sasquatch Theory. How are you doing today?
I'm doing all right.
Good. It's a pleasure to finally have you on the show. And Brad, if you would, tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and your encounters and experiences from the very beginning, please.
All right. Well, my name's Brad. I'm 35. I'm from Fouke, Arkansas. I actually grew up on Boggy Creek, and I was not a believer in Bigfoot. Growing up hearing all the stories and growing up on that particular creek, everybody would ask me all the time during school, "Hey, you seen the monster lately?" Well, I never believed in it because I never saw or heard nothing. Well, when I graduated high school, I joined the Marine Corps in '08, and I was stationed at Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point, North Carolina. Well, my mom at the time lived about halfway, about 30 minutes in between Marine Corps Air Station Cherry Point and Marine Corps Base uh, Camp Lejeune. Well, one night, me and a couple buddies were headed down to that location to my mom's house, and we decided to cut through a dirt road, the Croatan National Forest. Well, I've been down this road. Me and two of my buddies were driving down what we call Pringle Road, which is a dirt road through the Croatan National Forest. Uh, this is where me, my stepdad, and all his family up there go hunting, whether it be bear hunting, deer, or even raccoon hunting. We'd hunt that forest. This was about 1 o'clock in the morning, in between 12:30 and 1, and we were about halfway down this road to the main road through the national forest, which we called CC Road. Well, I had just passed a vehicle, so I had turned my brights down and went through a S curve. When I came out of the S curve, I turned my brights back on. And as I looked back up from turning my brights on out onto the dirt road, I saw this creature run across the dirt road. When I say run, if I had looked down just a little bit longer, I'd have never seen it. And what I remember most about it is because when I looked up, I'm driving a 98 half ton Dodge. So I'm sitting pretty good height up. And as I'm looking out, as I see it, I'm staring straight at its thigh as it's running. And I can still see it whenever I think back on it, just the definition of the muscle of that thigh and the hair that it had. Now, this road's wide enough for two vehicles to pass. And I think it touched the road once as it was running. I asked my buddy sitting in the passenger seat. I said, "Man, please tell me you saw that." He looked at me and said, I was gonna say the same thing." Well, my buddy that was in the back seat was laying down. He sat up and said, "What was it?" I said, "Man, I don't know. And honestly, I think it might have been Bigfoot." Well, he wanted to get out and go after it. I said, "You can forget that, buddy. If you get out, you're on your own. But you're gonna have to get out while we're running 40 miles an hour because I ain't stopping." As I continued on, because I was ready to get out of there at that point in time, I started seeing deer. All of them were running down the road. They wasn't entering the forest. They were running the same direction I was headed. And I got close enough to what they call a cow horn in North Carolina, which is just a spike that's all he's ever going to be is a spike. I could have reached out and grabbed a hold of him, slammed him against the truck, and thrown him in the back of the truck. In the next, I'd say about quarter mile, I counted 24 head of deer all running down the road away from where I had just seen this thing. Well, I asked my stepdad later that the next day when he woke up, asked him, he's hunted them woods all of his life. I said, "How many deer have you ever seen down in the national forest in a single night?" And he told me most he'd seen was half a dozen. I said, "Well, I counted 24 head within a quarter mile, and I saw something run across the road right before I seen the deer." And he said, "Oh yeah, there's something back there." Well, I asked him, I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Well, they're way back deep in the woods on the other side of the railroad tracks, way deep, deep in the woods. A couple of guys that he hunted with had gone across the railroad tracks trying to get a dog because that's how they hunted. That's how they hunt in North Carolina is they run dogs." And they started noticing the sounds of footsteps in line with theirs. And they'd stop, footprints would stop, but it'd stop. There'd be enough difference so they could tell that it was something big. They did not wind up finding the dog, but they left that area and no longer hunt the national forest.
Wow. Yeah, that's terrifying. So other people have seen the creature or creatures in the same area, huh?
That took place in North Carolina. Um, Now, where I grew up, like I said, I never saw or heard nothing except for I heard something one night, but this was that time where I didn't believe in Bigfoot, and I heard a scream, and it wasn't like a panther scream. I've heard that. I've it was it's hard to describe the scream, but it was enough to raise the hairs on the back of my neck, and you know I've seen a lot of things. It the only time the hair on the back of my neck gets raised when it involves like sounds or something like that, or seeing something, has been in an encounter like that.
Yeah, I've heard the scream several different times, and a lot of people say it's just a mountain lion, but this sounded like a monstrous woman screaming about 7 to 9 feet off the ground. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. It just sounds like prehistoric.
Yeah, and Granted, this scream was far off, and one of the guys that I was camping with at the time said, "Oh, that's just the rumble strips on the interstate." Well, my mind wanting to believe that it's not something out there, it was like, "Oh, okay, that's what it was." And then I heard a semi hit the rumble strips on the interstate, which was like 4 miles away or 2 miles away, and it was not even close.
Yeah, and the creature that you encountered, that's pretty frightening because, you're out there in the national forest at 1 or 2 in the morning and this unknown creature runs in front of your vehicle. And like you said, it was a 98 half ton Dodge truck, and you're sitting high up and you're looking at the thigh of this creature. There's no possible way that it could be a man in a suit or just a regular animal out in the woods. You knew for sure that this was a Sasquatch because nothing else could explain what you encountered that night.
I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. When it ran in front of my truck and I'm looking at it, okay, I've heard people say, it's the hair is kind of like a bear. Well, what I saw is more like how human hair is on a human leg, but like 4 inches long,
Yeah.
all over the leg. And another thing that stuck out to me, I didn't see its arms because, like I said, it ran across. The only thing I can remember looking back is the leg and the bright white spot on its head,
So it had a patch of
which,
white on it?
yeah, it was up on the head. And the only reason I remember that is because my lights were almost reflecting off of it. Like when you hit white with a light at night, it shines up.
Yeah. So you could see
Now,
the face of the creature, or at least like a side profile?
it was either that or it had a deer on its shoulder.
Yeah. It happened so fast. I mean, you weren't expecting it. It took one step across the entire road and it was gone.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now, that brush through there at that time was extremely thick. Like when we would go in there trying to get dogs on that particular stretch, we couldn't go in right there. We had to go in and find just certain spots where deer use to even get in there to get back to the dogs. And this thing didn't check up. It just ran straight through it.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. And I know, like in the Carolinas, even when all the leaves are off the trees in the wintertime, the laurels are just so thick, like it's almost impossible to walk through them.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it sounds like this creature was out on a hunt and you guys were in the middle of it because that is unusual that the deer were running down the road and that you've seen so many of them. It sounds like, I don't know, they were looking for their next meal.
And that's actually something I've noticed a couple of times. Uh, it's what I've noticed is whenever it seems like one of those creatures is in the area hunting, all the deer will leave the woods.
Yeah.
Like I was headed down through there one night, but I was on CC Road, the main road. And as I'm heading into the national forest, there are two pastures on each side. And on my right side, there's 40 deer, and on the left side, there's 30 deer, all out in the pasture.
Yeah, that is
And
interesting.
that is I drove that road a lot, and I saw that maybe twice.
I seen that one night. This was a few years ago, and I never thought about it till I spoke with you today. And basically, I was going to my hunting spot. My parents have like 50 acres way out in the country, and
Mhm.
I passed the entrance to the area. I think it was like 4:30 or 5 in the morning, and I was like, all right, I'll just turn around in the neighbor's driveway up the road. And I'm on a county road, and when I turn around in the driveway, I see, I kid you not, like 40 or 50 deer. And I'm like, ooh, this is going to be a good hunt because our driveway is just like 200 yards down the county road. So I turned back around, went down the road, got in my deer stand. I didn't see one deer that morning. And it blew my mind just because like right up the road there was like 40 or 50 deer. I never thought about Bigfoot until I talked with you today. Like maybe something was going on there. And I've had a few strange experiences in that area too. So I don't know. Maybe like they go around humans to stay away from these things, like go out in someone's yard or out in a county road to try to like deter these creatures and get them off their backs.
That's like my mom she has 60 acres out in the country. And, normally during the daytime, we might see a deer or two. And during deer season, we might see, if we see any, there at night. They're not there in the day. Last day of deer season, not this past hunting season, but the season before, I had only killed one deer. Okay. There were, we counted 17 deer in the back of my mom's pasture. Well, I still had tags to fill. That's the last day. So I grabbed my mom's rifle and was going to, get a couple of them, fill the freezer. Well, my mom's rifle was off. I fired 6 times with each shot going high and missing the deer. That sixth shot, I saw where the bullet was hitting, adjusted. I fired a total of 9 shots, killed 3 deer, and they did not run off until I was within 50 yards of them. When I went down there to grab the deer and bring them up, start cleaning them. And even then, after I loaded them up and started taking them back to the house, they came back out into the pasture.
Yeah, that's unusual. And I think many hunters can relate to what we're talking about, just like strange deer activity. Like, why are they doing that?
And honestly, I was on nights over here for 9 months patrolling the county, Lafayette County. And I could always tell when something was going on because I'd see more deer out near the road. On a normal day, which I went in at 6 o'clock in the evening, I'd see about 6 deer going from Bradley to Canfield, which is roughly 6 miles. So I'd see about one a mile. But there were some times where I'd see over 20 deer in the same stretch.
Mm. Yeah, deer are really smart. And I feel like sometimes they use humans as decoys to get predators off their back.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it, especially something like that.
Yeah. I've had that happen too here. Like when I was having Sasquatch activity on the property, there was a deer that would come out into the yard and her front leg was broken and she'd be looking over her shoulder back into the woods. And I thought like, ooh, coyotes are probably hunting her down. But after all the Sasquatch activity, I thought maybe it could be these things. And later on, I met a farmer and I made a documentary out there at the killing fields. Well, he was showing me videos off his trail camera and it was big bucks with their front legs broken, dangling just like that doe. And he was having all this strange activity. And then later on, I learned from people like, I don't know, I think they were from like Washington State, and they said they will break their front legs and they'll break their necks and then come back for them later. And I was like, okay, I don't have proof this was Sasquatch, but that's probably what it was because I've seen them out there. It was just unusual, and I felt like that doe was coming out to get something from to stop chasing her, essentially.
Yeah, in my opinion, you know, Sasquatch is not a evil or aggressive being, and we should all be thanking our stars because as big and as fast as they are, we wouldn't stand a chance. I mean, I know we have rifles and shotguns and stuff like that, but something that big, unless you hit a perfect shot, you ain't stopping that.
Hmm.
You'll be gone before it stops.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like even if you had like a 45 70 and you shot it multiple times, let's say you did put it down, you still have like 6 to 9 other clan members, if not more, to deal with. And, you'll be
And
lucky to
now
make it
they're
out
all
of there.
angry.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
Or if you do get it out of there, let's say they all run away and you got one down, like, and then you have to worry about the feds and like the cover up. And I wouldn't want to deal with that.
yeah, me either.
Yeah. You know, all too well, you were in the military and, there, it's no joke, the things you sign and how strict they are. And um, I don't know. I wouldn't want to deal with it for sure. What national forest did you say this was in? I know you said it earlier in the podcast, but I didn't catch it.
Croatan,
Okay. And what part of the state is this in? West, north, southwest,
east.
east? Okay. So this is in the swamps, and I think you mentioned that earlier.
Well, it's by the beach. There's some swamp there in that area. Uh, there's a bunch of creeks that run through there, but it's more, for the most part, that area is more thick forest with not a whole lot of population.
Is it close to I can't say it, the Goshen swamp? I don't know if you're familiar
Uh,
with that area.
I'm not. I would have to look.
No, okay. No, I recently had a Bigfoot report from that area, and a hunter saw this thing come out of the swamp. But yeah, it sounds like an area where these creatures would be in. Did you notice any eye shine from the creature when it crossed the road? Probably not. It happened so fast.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I
I have
wonder.
seen ice. I have seen ice shine over here in this county
Hmm.
that was too high up to be a deer or anything like that, but not them.
Yeah. Could you tell if the creature had a conical head or a round head?
I could not. No, it passed too quickly.
Okay. And the vehicle that passed by before you encountered this creature, how long after that was it when the thing ran across the road? Was it a few seconds, a couple minutes?
Maybe I'd say in between 25 and 30 seconds.
Okay. I wonder if they seen some of the individuals run across the road.
I don't know. I remember the what kind of vehicle. I don't remember like the make or anything because I didn't see that, but I can tell you it was a uh, passenger car, maroon in color.
Yeah. Maybe it threw it off like it was waiting for this car to pass by. It passes by and then, oh man, there's another one coming. Makes me wonder.
Well, given where my lights were shining, if it
Mhm.
was watching and said it was thinking it could pass out of view of my lights, because like I said, it's right as I turned my brights on is what enabled me to see this thing.
Yeah. And it's a good thing that you guys didn't stop and get out and look. I feel like things could have went wrong if these things were out on the hunt.
Yeah, me too. And I told my buddy that if he wants to go back and hunt it on his own, that's fine. I'm not stopping. and then I said I would never go back in there uh, in between the hours of 10 p.m. and 6 a.m.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And when you lived in Fouke, Arkansas, near Boggy Creek, did you hear any reports from the locals of the Boggy Creek monster?
No, that's a lot of people don't talk about it if they do see it because they don't want to be ridiculed.
Yeah. And I feel like people think that, oh, if you live at Boggy Creek, you've seen these things before, and that's not how it works. There's probably a lot of people that have lived there their entire lives and have never heard or seen anything. And I feel like that's a common misconception. Like if you live at Bluff Creek, you must know about the Sasquatch, and it's just a rare thing no matter where you go, but they are out there.
No, I 100% believe that now. And like I said, I was not a believer up until I was 20 years old.
Yeah. And being in the Marines, did you experience anything unusual? Did you see anything when you were on tour or anywhere that you went? Anything you're not supposed to talk about?
Mm, no, sir, that's it.
Okay. And what about like paranormal experiences or UFOs? Have you ever seen anything like that throughout your life?
Um, I would say a couple years ago in Falk, Memorial Day weekend. I remember because it was right about my birthday, and me, my mom, my brother-in-law, and my sister were all outside around the fire. And my brother-in-law said, "What in the world is that?" And he was looking at the sky. Well, we all look up, and we see it looks like four stars moving across the sky at an equal distance, and I'd say they went a ways, still moving in that formation, stopped, and then two went in the north direction and two went south. And then they were there for maybe a little bit longer, like maybe 2 minutes total, and then they all took off at a very high rate of speed.
Yeah. I've seen similar before, and I've seen some strange crafts in the sky. I've even showed some researchers that come out and look for Bigfoot with me, and they said, "Oh, that's just a plane." And for a while, it kind of convinced me, like, "Oh, that's probably a satellite or a plane." But I seen the same thing, like this bright, I don't know, it's like a moving star almost. And this thing split off into two and went in off like opposite directions, and they streaked across the sky like a sparkler firework, and that blew my mind. It's like, okay, maybe some of these are satellites, but there is certainly strange things taking place in the skies above.
Yeah, the pattern that they were moving in before they all took off and disappeared was almost like a search pattern, like they were searching for something.
Yeah. No, I believe you, and it's just another strange mystery. Um, have you went out looking for Sasquatch after your encounter, or do you just kind of stay away from it?
I don't go looking for him. If I enter an area where I see signs or I feel like somebody's watching me, but I can't see anybody, I'll leave like an apple or something like that out there in that spot and vacate the area because you get a certain feeling when you're in their territory and they know you're in their territory.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what blows my mind is like they know exactly where you're at when you're sitting up in your deer stand or you're turkey hunting or fishing. It's like it's so darn thick in there, and you're like covered in camo being quiet, and they know right where you're at. I mean, they could smell you probably, but I feel like there's another sense. Like they have like a sixth sense. Like they know immediately that you're around,
Yeah.
or they just watched you go in the area. I mean, they do call them the Watchers, so I'm sure they're always on post, and they communicate by wood knocking or whistling, pushing over trees, or I don't know. They just have a knowing, kind of like a hive mind. Dobermans can do it, and they can just triangulate around you.
Yeah, it's crazy thinking, you know, that even people who go out and they think they're alone in certain areas, they're not alone. And you know, I know people who've never, they say they've never seen it, they don't believe in it, and I've had several people, kind of make fun of me about my story. And I told them, I said, that's fine. You don't have to believe me. That's not everybody's going to. But I've told the same story for the past 15 years. My story has not changed.
Yeah, you'll have a lot of doubters out there, but you'll be surprised sometimes when you open up to people, they'll say, "Well, I think I've seen one too." And it's kind of cool when you run into someone like that.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Do you have anything else you'd like to share? Do you have any questions for me?
No, sir, I do not at this time.
Okay. Well, Brad, you did an excellent job at explaining this encounter. I know it was a quick one, but I'm sure it's really affected you, and you're a knower now. You know these things are out there, and it's no joke. I mean, people have to be careful when they're out in the woods.
Yes, they do.
Okay. Well, if you run into anything else in the future, feel free to reach out to me, or if you find something strange, just text me, and if I don't answer, you can email me, and I'd be glad to answer any questions that you have.
All righty, sounds good.
Brad didn't go looking for Bigfoot. He was just trying to get home. But that night in the Croatan National Forest in North Carolina, when something taller than his truck ran across the road, it really changed how he looked at the forest forever. What stuck with him wasn't just the creature, it was the deer flooding the road, refusing to go back into the trees, and the feeling that something was actively moving through that area. That moment has followed him for years, and tonight he finally shared it with everyone here on Sasquatch Theory. I can only imagine how Brad felt when he saw this massive creature run in front of his Dodge truck, and like he said, the waist was at the window and this truck sat up really high, so you can only imagine how big this thing was. And it totally sounds like they were hunting the white-tailed deer, and I can see why the deer were flooding into the road and not going back into the forest, because they wanted to escape these creatures because it was possibly hunting them. If you guys enjoy watching Sasquatch Theory, you can join the membership today for exclusive videos and extended footage from my research videos. And you also get early access to the podcast, which is really cool. And the members seem to really enjoy the membership. So feel free to join today. You can also support the channel by purchasing some merchandise off my Spreadshirt website. And it really helps promote the channel. I don't really make any money off of it, but I think it's cool when people wear Sasquatch Theory t-shirts. If you have a Bigfoot or cryptid encounter you would like to share with me here on the channel, feel free to reach out sometime at sasquatchtheory@outlook.com. A lot of people reach out to me just to tell me personally about their experiences, but I say it a lot. If you want to tell your encounters on Sasquatch Theory, feel free to reach out to the email. Not if you want to personally tell me your encounter behind the scenes and not share it on the podcast. Guys, I'm trying to run a podcast, so if you contact me, make sure it's about sharing your encounters openly with everyone and not trying to withhold the information, and just have a personal chat with me. Unfortunately, I don't have time to talk with everyone, and you found me through the podcast, and I'm looking to further the podcast, which is by sharing people's encounters. Okay, so make sure if you reach out, it's about sharing a Bigfoot encounter and logging down the report for research purposes. and I just don't have time to talk with everyone. So just make sure that you're mindful of that, and also I have to be mindful of my time. And I'm not trying to be rude to anyone, but I have to preserve my energy and time for people who are actually willing to share their experiences. So I really do appreciate all the people who have shared their encounters openly without hesitation. I also want to mention I appreciate all the listeners who support the channel and the positive people out there who leave positive comments and feedback. You guys are amazing. I want to thank all the people that have donated to the PayPal. You've really helped out with little gadgets like trail cameras, GoPros, and gas and food for trips. So thank you guys very much. Thank you everyone for listening, and until the next one, watch out for Bigfoot out in the woods.